And welcome back. So now that we have finished with the Supreme Court, we're going to start our study of the Bill of Rights. I'm not going to take the Bill of Rights in order. There is a method to my madness. First off, we're going to study Amendment 3, then we'll move on to Amendment 2. Why are we starting there? Well, Amendment 3 takes about 5 minutes for me to get through. That's why. Then Amendment 2 is a little lengthier, and we just kind of layer on. So the idea here is for me to get through as much of the Bill of Rights and the other amendments as I can before the semester ends. But I thought I'm recording this on Easter. I think this will go out to you guys on Wednesday or Friday of this week. That I would start with class with a little duet. This is my wonderful, multi talented cousin Tess. I don't know who this person is, but she posted this on her Facebook, and I thought it was very good. And I'm always keen to show off my family. I'm very proud of them. She's absolutely one of the lights of my life. I love her to death. So this is about 2 minutes long. It's actually pretty. It's not actually because she doesn't do anything badly, but for those of you who might not be into music, this is very good. Anyway, I remember when she was, I think, yeah, she was, when she was born, I was 10. And I mean, she took to music from a very early age. And I remember when she was a little girl, her coming up to me with a quarter-sized violin, asking me, listen to me play Row, Row, Row Your Boat and Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and now that. Anyway, I just felt like I had to show that off. So thanks for bearing with me. But Amendment 3 is very short. It's actually one of the amendments that everybody has kind of agreed means what it says. No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. There's been no Supreme Court analysis of this amendment. Nothing. really big, uh, except this, which we're going to talk about in a moment. Um, but it shows the Amendment 3, the preference for the civilian over the military. So, meaning we're a country run by a civilian government. The civilian government dictates to the military where they shall go, what they shall do, not the other way around. Like in many countries around the world today. So that's about it. I would certainly, for the test, remember this. It's an amendment. It will be on the test. I promise you that. It will be on the test. And I'm going to tell you about Engblom versus Kerry. But usually, I think it'll probably be this way this time. I usually only ask a question phrased something like, what was the only case that ever adjudicated the Third Amendment? And I give you 4 cases. So it's phrased somewhere like that. I don't know how precisely I would do it this time, but that's usually the only question that ever gets asked. So Engblom versus Kerry really raised the issue of whether the state of New York had violated the Third Amendment by housing members of the National Guard, the New York State National Guard, at the residences of these 2 correctional officers who were living in a dormitory on the grounds of the state prison. So in this instance, the guards and prison staff had gone on strike, and it had gone on for quite a long time. So things at this particular prison were breaking down. So the governor sent in the guard to keep order, and the guard, at least 2 of the guards, moved into these people's dorm on the prison grounds. So the Second Circuit Court had to decide whether or not the Third Amendment had been violated. It didn't actually do that, but it made 3 other important rulings. One, under the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment, the Third Amendment applies to actions by state governments no less than it applies to actions by the feds. So that's an important ruling in and of itself. So what applies to the state governments applies, what applies to the federal governments applies to the state governments. The state government cannot tyrannize you any more than the federal government can. All right, so you get the 14th Amendment protections from the feds, from the state. That was a big deal. So the 2 correctional officers were owners of their residences for the purposes of Amendment 3, even though they rented the dorm rooms from the state of New York. So that's number 2. So they treated those dormitories as kind of apartments, and the state of New York was the landlord. Now, if you're keeping up, I'm sitting in an apartment right now. My wife and I live in an apartment. If we're keeping up on our rent, if we're behaving ourselves, the landlord just can't move another family in here, right? That violates the lease agreement in so many ways. It's the same thing here. So they were renters, but they had lawful control of the premises because they had a key, and they enjoyed a reasonable expectation of privacy that included the non-consensual quartering of soldiers, meaning soldiers couldn't just be put in there because the government said so. And that the third thing here, the members of the National Guard are soldiers governed by the strictures of the Third Amendment. And no federal court has re-examined these issues since Engblom. That's it. See you for Amendment 2 in a minute.